entered her room, feeling the weight of the day finally lifting. She quietly lay down on her bed, her eyes drifting towards the small drawer beside her. Opening it, she gently took out a handkerchief, a simple white one, with a small strawberry embroidered delicately on the edge. A soft smile graced her lips as she brought the handkerchief to her face, inhaling its faint scent. The memories of how she met him flooded her mind, replaying that day like a vivid dream. The first encounter had been unexpected, yet it left a lasting mark on her heart, one she couldn't easily forget. Noor, along with the king, Yoongi, Jimin, Namjoon, and a large group of soldiers, was heading towards the Crystal Kingdom. The journey was heavy with the tension of years of animosity between the Crystal Kingdom and Bloody River. However, after all the bloodshed, they had finally agreed to negotiate a peace contract for the sake of the people. At just 16 years old, Noor already held herself with the voice of an alpha. Though she was a fox, she was determined to play her part in every important event, and this one was no exception. As they arrived at the Crystal Kingdom and took their seats for discussion, Noor suddenly catch a faint scent, strawberries. It was alluring, pulling her attention away from the conversation. She glanced around, trying to understand the source, but nothing to seem to make sense. And then the doors opened. An alpha stepped in, dressed in his royal hanbok. His eyes were dark yet sharp, exuding an intensity that captivated everyone. His black hair flowed gracefully behind him, adding to his striking beauty. "This is Taeyong, my son, and the next king of the Crystal Kingdom." Everyone greeted him formally and returned to their serious conversation at hand. But Noor's focus was entirely on the alpha before her. The strawberry scent that had drawn her in earlier was coming from him. As soon as Taeyong entered the room, his eyes locked onto Noor. Both of their wolves tried intensely. Mate. Noor felt it too, the undeniable pull of finding her mate. Her heart skipped a beat, but as their gaze bravely met, she noticed something strange. Dissipate, the bound tugging at them. Taeyong appeared unbothered, his expression cool and ditched. He gave no sign that the connection affected him in any way. She was still watching him in confusion when the king called her name, pulling her attention back to the matter at hand. "Noor, come here." Noor composed herself and joined the discussion, setting aside her thoughts of time. Despite being only 16, she carried herself with the poise of a leader, and this moment was no different. "We have gathered here to discuss the term of peace between the Crystal Kingdom and Bloody River. After years of conflict, it is time for a resolution that will protect both of our people." Her king nodded in agreement, and the talks officially began. The room felt tense, filled with all grudge, but she was quick to speak up, cutting through the tension. "If may I?" she began, her voice steady and calm. "We must ensure that this peace is not just a temporary truce, but both kingdoms must agree to mind their own border and not interfere with the lives of the people. Trade and travel can be resorted, but no one disruption to the daily lives of Aether Kingdom's people." Agreed. Our goal is the peace of prosperity of our lands, and to ensure that we propose mutual non-interference. Neither kingdom will take action that harm the other, directly or indirectly. Her king nodded. "We have no desire to disturb your kingdom, and we expect the same in return. This treaty will only work if both sides uphold their promises." Noor added, "Moreover, should any incidents occur, we will resolve that diplomatically through discussion like this, rather than resorting to violence." "Very well said, young one." He glanced at Taeyong, but the alpha remained as cold as ever, his eyes occasionally flickering towards her but saying nothing. "The Bloody River will stand by this treaty, but if any betrayal occurs, the consequences will be severe. Our wolves will protect our land at any cost. We are here to preserve peace, not provoke the war, but Make no mistake, our kingdom won't hesitate to defend itself if needed. Diplomacy will be our first approach, but we must be prepared for all possibilities. Trust can only be maintained if both sides remains vigilant. As the conversation ended, everyone stood up to leave. When Noor passed near Taeyong, she noticed the corner of a handkerchief peeking from his pocket. With a sly smile, she carefully slipped it out, unnoticed by anyone. It had been 2 years since that moment, and she had never seen Taeyong again. The handkerchief, once filled with his scent, was now fading. Noor sighed as she held it, feeling the weight of time. Just then a knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Standing, she opened the door to see a guard bowing. "The king is calling you. It's urgent." Noor could sense the seriousness in the air and nodded for him to continue. "The Crystal Kingdom has been blocking the path to the market for our people for several days, and today they attacked some of our citizens. The king had arranged a meeting with the Crystal King at the mountain grounds, and he's calling for everyone together." Noor's eyes darkened slightly as she noted. Once the god left, she thought about the tension with the Crystal Kingdom. Everything seems to be spiraling. Grabbing her sword, she left her room, ready for whatever awaited them. Jimin was talking to Hobby when the guard arrived, and both before speaking. "King is calling you at the mountain ground. The Crystal King is here." They looked at each other in confusion. The guard quickly explained the situation. On the other side, Yoongi rushed into his room, startling you as he slammed the door open. You could sense your alpha scent. He was angry and furious. Yoongi opened his cabinet, searching for his dagger. When he couldn't find it, he groaned loudly. He looked around and spotted you. Without warning, he started walking towards you with heavy steps, his eyes dark with rage. You nervously stepped back, but before you could move, he grabbed your arm harshly, making you hiss in pain from his tight grip. "Didn't I told you to stay away from my things, huh? Where is my dagger, huh? Speak up!" His voice boomed, and tears fell from your eyes, both from fear and the pain. I don't know." "How do you not know? You're the only one living in my room. So how did my dagger just disappear? I swear I didn't touch anything, useless Omega. Why did you even come to in my life?" He shoved you away, causing you to fall onto the bed. Yoongi stormed out of the room, and you cried, unable to move your arm from the pain. Yoongi stormed out of the palace, his eyes still burning with anger. As he stepped outside, he spotted Namjoon and immediately rushed towards him. Jimin and Hobby quickly joined them, sensing the tension. "Did you hear about the Crystal King? That bastard, after breaking the contract, he dares to show his face here? Does he have a death wish? Are they trying to make a new contract or something?" "It's not like that. The Crystal Kingdom wants a war." "What?" "He's dead man rocking. Calm down, Yoongi. Don't let your wolf take control. You know, if you lose control, you will destroy everything in your path." Before Yoongi could respond, Noor appeared from the palace, her presence commanding attention. She strode forward, her sword gleaming in her hand. "What are you all standing around for? Let's go!" Without waiting for a reply, she ran ahead, ready for battle. The others exchanged a glance before quickly following her lead. When they arrived at the meeting place, ready for battle, they were surprised to find the situation calm. The tension was still thick in the air, but nothing suggested the war they had expected. They sat down beside their king, who was seated in the center on his royal chair across from them. The Crystal King sat with a smug expression. "Now tell me, what do you want? First, you blocked the only trade route for our pack, forcing our people to take the dangerous cliff path. Then you attacked them. Didn't our contract clearly say we would not harm each other's people? They crossed into my kingdom, so I have every right to block the path. As for the attack, your people ignored the block and tried to pass anyway. You were wrong." Yoongi's voice was a low, dangerous growl, but before he could escalate, Namjoon placed a firm hand on his arm, trying to calm him. Ah, the future king is upset. I see. Fine, if you want the path clear, then you will have to fight for it. If you win, I will guarantee safe passage for your people. But if I win, I want that witch's book hidden in your palace. The entire group gasped in shock. Why did he want that book? And if I refuse, then I will take it by force in a war. He smiled, his eyes gleaming with confidence. The deal is simple. Let your best fighter face mine. The king sighed, looking towards Yoongi. He knew his son was already on edge, and his powers could easily spiral out of control, causing unfold destruction. His gaze shifted to Namjoon, Noor, Jimin, and Hobby. Noor gave a subtle nod, and the king understood she wanted to fight. With resigned nods from the king, Noor stood up, her sword in hand. The Crystal King's mark widened. Perfect choice. He motioned towards his commander, and a rider on horseback approached. The figure dismounted and pulled down his hood. Noor's breath caught in her throat as the familiar scent hit her alpha. It was Taeyong. Taeyong walked towards Noor, sword in hand, his expression unreadable. Noor stood frozen, not from fear, but from shock. How could she possibly fight her own alpha? The fight began with an intense atmosphere, and Noor felt her heart pounding. Taeyong stood before her, emotionless, his eyes cold and unreadable. They circled each other, sword raised. Noor was tense, her mind clouded with confusion. Now, how could she fight the same man destined to her alpha? Taeyong made the first move, lunging forward with his sword. Noor blocked it quickly, the sound of metal clashing filling the air. She retaliated with a swift strike, but it lacked her usual precision. Her movements were quick and skilled, but there was hesitation in her strikes. She dodged and priced, but her form wasn't as sharp as should be. Namjoon frowned his brow, watching closely. What's going on with her? She's making mistakes. Yoongi clenched his fist, in frustration growing as he watched. Noor is a better fighter than this. What's wrong with her? Jimin and Hobby exchanged confused glances. Even the king was puzzled. They all knew Noor's strength and skill. She was one of the finest warriors in the kingdom, but something was off. Taeyong, still emotionless, pressed forward with calculated attacks. Noor blocked him, but her mind was in turmoil. Every time she looked into his eyes, she felt her resolve weaken. Her alpha, how could she hurt him? She struck again, but her sword barely grazed him. Taeyong didn't hesitate. He swung his blade with force, and Noor stumbled backward, barely avoiding that stride. Sweat dripping down her face as her breathing became raged. She couldn't focus. She's holding back, but why? Yoongi growled under his breath. He could sense it too. Noor wasn't fighting with her full strength, and it was costing her. The fight continued, the tension growing with each clash of their sword. Noor's movements were becoming more desperate, her mind clouded by the bond she felt with Taeyong. He, on the other hand, showed no sign of hesitation. His strides were precise, almost robotic, and he seemed unaffected by their connection. Just as Taeyong made a powerful swing towards Noor, something strange happened. The ground beneath them rumbled slightly, and a sudden gust of wind swung through the area. Everyone froze, their attention snapping towards the horizon. The Crystal King's expression shifted, his eyes narrowing as he seemed something. We are leaving. Before anyone could react, the Crystal King stood up and turned to his commander. He gave a sharp nod, and the soldier of the Crystal Kingdom began to retreat. What's going on? Noor lowered her sword, panting heavily as Taeyong stepped back without a word. His eyes flickered with something, but it disappeared just as quickly it came. The king stood, bewildered by the sudden turn of events. Why are you leaving? The Crystal King smiled but didn't answer. He mounted his horse, glancing back at the group one last time before riding off with his army. The tension that had filled the air evaporated, but question lingered. Noor watched as time disappeared into the distance, her heart still racing, unsure of what had just happened. Back in the palace, the tension was almost unbearable. Yoongi stormed in first, his face twisted with fury, followed by Namjoon, Jimin, Hobby, and the king. Noor entered quietly, her expression tense. Yu and Mew stood off to the side, unaware of full situation. But the suffocating atmosphere made it hard for you to even stand straight. Yoongi's alpha presence was overwhelming, and you could feel his anger radiating through the room. Yoongi stopped abruptly, turning sharply towards Noor, his eyes blazing with barely contained rage. What the hell was that out there, Noor? You could have ended the fight in seconds, but you didn't. You hesitated. Why? Noor remained silent, her eyes cast downward, gripping her sword tightly, as it could give her strength to face him. Answer me. His voice boomed, the alpha authority in it making your heart race and your knees weak. You glanced at Mew, who looked equally terrified, too scared to speak. Yoongi's anger made it hard to breathe, and you tried to stay calm, though your voice was stuck in your throat. Namjoon, who had been standing silently, stepped forward, trying to mediate the situation. Yoongi, let her explain. There's something more to do this. Yoongi's eyes stayed fixed on Noor, but his clenched fist showed he was trying to hold back. Hoppy crossed his arm, his usual light-heartedness gone, replaced by concern. Noor, you are one of the best. What was going on? You have fought harder than this. What's holding you back? Even Jimin, usually calm and quiet, frowned his brow. You were different today, Noor. What happened? The king watching closely, adding his voice, his tone serious. Noor, this hesitation isn't like you. We all saw it. Explain. Noor took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. Her voice was low when she finally spoke, but it was filled with the weight of the truth she had been hiding for so long. Taeyong, he's my mate. The room fell into complete silence. You and Mew gasped softly, exchanging stunned glances. Namjoon, Hobby, and Jimin all froze, their faces showing shock, while the king narrowed his eyes in surprise. What? Your mate? You knew this, and you didn't tell us? His voice was harsh, filled with disbelief. Noor looked up at him, her expression conflict. I have known for a while, but I couldn't say anything. It's complicated. Yoongi's face twisted further in frustration as he began to pace. You have known all this time, and you kept it a secret. You risked everything out there, Noor. Why didn't you say anything? Noor clenched her fist, clearly struggling with her emotions. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep it hidden and do my duty. But when I saw him today, I felt his scent. I couldn't fight him, not like that. Yoongi stopped in his track, his eyes blazing with anger. So you put us all in danger because you couldn't control yourself around him. Do you realize what could have happened? We could have lost everything. You could feel the weight of Yoongi's anger pressing down on you. His alpha presence was almost suffocating, and your body trembled under the pressure. You wanted to speak, but your voice faltered, too afraid to say anything. Jiwoo, who had been silently observing, finally stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. Yoongi, enough. Noor had her reason for keeping this a secret, and the alpha bound isn't something she can control so easily. You know that. Yoongi's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. He was still furious, but Jiwoo's words seemed to calm him slightly. No, this changed everything. Why didn't you tell us sooner? We could have prepared for this. Noor's voice cracked as she spoke. I thought I could deal with it on my own, but when I saw him today, everything changed. Hoppy sighed, leaning against the wall, his brow furrowed. So Taeyong knew all along too. What does this mean for us? For now, we need to regroup and gather any intelligence we can about the Crystal King's attentions. We need to be prepared for anything. Noor nodded, still looking troubled. The room was filled with a sense of unease as everyone tried to piece together what had happened. You and Mew remained quiet, feeling the weight of the situation and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The focus had shifted to uncovering the reason behind the sudden and mysterious retreat of the Crystal King and his forces. Yoongi's sharp gaze flitted to you, his features hard as his anger surged, but he quickly noticed how it was affecting you through the bound. You could feel the tension rippling through your body, making it hard to breathe. His jaw tightened as he sighed, closing his eyes to control himself. Slowly he released his calming pheromone sending wave of relief your way. You felt your heart steadying and looked at him, sensing the subtle shift. Yoongi's eyes were on you, but as soon as your gaze met, he turned away, distant as always. Yet you knew he had done it for you. A small smile tugged at your lips, even if he wouldn't acknowledge it. On the other side, Mew was trembling, her small frame pressed tightly against you. Jimin's eyes darted between the two of you, catching the fear on Mew's face. It pained him that he couldn't soothe her with her own pheromones. Only maid could do that. He quickly looked at Noor and gave her a silent nod. Noor understood immediately. Her calm demeanor never wavered as she walked over to where you both stood. With a firm but gentle hand, she guided you and Mew away from the tense atmosphere. "Come, let's get you both somewhere safe," she whispered, leading you to the privacy of your room. On the other side, the Crystal King stood with his head bowed, facing someone shrouded in darkness. "Didn't I tell you I need that book?" The voice was sharp, and the green eye of the figure glowed with frustration. "My plan was working, and my son was about to win, but I felt the presence of an angel wolf there." "Wolf, that Minjun got an alpha wolf?" As the conversation continued, Taeyong walked in his prince coat towards the throne hall. As he approached, the guard stopped him. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, but the king said no one is to enter." "What do you mean? I'm the prince." "I'm sorry, but I can't let you enter." Taeyong frustratedly kicked the door of the throne hall, causing it to open slightly. Through the crack, he saw someone sitting on the throne, surrounded by a green aura. As he approached, the figure vanished, and the king turned to open the door. "What are you doing here?" "I want to talk." "Why did you suddenly start a fight with Bloody River? Why are you worried for your mate?" "I have to fight with my mate because of you. Forget her. Okay? She's not yours. Do what I say." With that, the king left. Taeyong's eyes returned grey with anger, and he groaned, causing the object around him to shake with his fury.